The sounds of conversation and laughter of the gathering partying people had long since fallen to silence, and was overtaken by the persistently chatty, cool breeze. My eyes had quickly began to adjust to the darkness around me, and I began to feel way more at ease in the new environment, and just enjoyed this stroll like the ones I usually took in the daytime and in the confines of my neighborhood back home. It felt good to be alone, actually, and I felt my energy, which had began to deplete at some point at the gathering, start replenishing, and I was reminded how oblivious I would be to how exhausted I would usually get within a gathering environment. I really needed to step away to this. You know, Trooper, I forget I'm an introvert sometimes. Well, I don't think that's quite right. I probably just get too caught up in the moment if my siblings are there. It's exhausting pretending to be social. No wonder I felt like taking a nap before. I was so sleepy. I sighed with a wry smile, hugging my stuffed animal closer. My footfalls added to the only noise that met my ears, and my eyes gazed downward towards the dark grass I could plainly see was cut short recently, a slight scent of it lingering in the air along with the smell of faint moisture? Was it? Rain. Even though I had seen it be bright and clear of clouds in the sky, I just couldn't shake the thought that rain was on the wind. But all things I knew and thought I was certain about got dashed to the ground when I heard a hissing in the distance, and found that it was just a bunch of sprinklers turned on in a large portion of the grassland of the cemetery. Oh. Trooper, I miss the rain, I whined aloud to my stuffed animal, chin completely coming to rest upon his small head. His perked fluffy ears rested against either side of my chin, and I stopped in place. I didn't want to be caught up in a bunch of sprinklers. Had the sun still been out, it would have been no problem. But with the wind flitting about, I didn't want to get cold. So I turned around, but paused to marvel slightly at the sight of the fairy lights all blurred into a sparkling and twinkling cluster of warm golden light at a large distance. But there was also the entire darkness taking up my whole peripheral, and with my eyes adjusted, I could see that the darkness carried a hint of deep dark blue. The only way I could truly explain my feelings in that moment was how I would imagine a bit of space to feel. Something that, if ventured far enough into, one would become introduced to and surrounded by the beauty and majesty that could only be appreciated if it was sought for. Or, in my case, a lucky sighting. Oh boy, I sighed aloud to myself, gently slapping myself back to reality before I could completely get lost in my already dangerously deep mind. I better start heading back before I get into deep trouble. Come on, Trooper, let's go, I sighed quietly, starting to take the first couple of steps towards the beckoning and charming golden lights, of which beyond their dainty light was the overwhelming and energy-sapping social gathering. Yeah, I didn't want to go back just then. I wanted to wander around and see what else I could find that my mind was interested in remaining within or sensing. I paused in place, fear starting to creep over my body as the unholy sound rang through the air ominously. Slowly, I turned my head, while at the same time tilted my body forward to make myself smaller. Several paces away from me was a dark Gothic-looking gate standing at a near 7 feet tall to deter whoever was passing by from trespassing the obviously prohibited area. Hesitantly, I took a couple steps forward to the gate, and took in that I saw the large gate had a heavy-looking chain looped through the very thin bars, but it wasn't entirely shut. The wind pushed it slightly open, as much as it was able to because of the chain, and seemed to almost beckon me over in a haunting way. Curiosity got the better of me, and I ended up tentatively trekking over and peering in through the dark bars. There were a row of tombstones with dark letters engraved into them, all in even numbers placed on either side of the only path leading to the secluded cemetery. I was too far away to see what was etched into the tombstones, yet, even then, they were facing away and shadowed from the bright moon that seemed to cast a spotlight onto the entire area. From the most I could tell from where I was, I could see that beyond the lines of text tombstones were a whole other row of what looked like smaller brick-like landmarks, akin to speed bumps, all placed on the ground as though it were supposed to copy the order of school desks. But that wasn't the only thing that caught my undivided attention. and took away all my initial anxiety I got from the entire area. There was a similar lone tombstone placed further beyond the collection of tombstones and other man-made stone landmarks. 2 large imposing oak trees looming on either side of the tombstone, and I could absolutely tell it had some kind of stuffed animal placed on the top of it. It looked like a familiar winged bipedal bear, just like the 3 I had back at home. My eyes glimmered at this, until I felt something smack me in the nose, bringing me out of my moment of infatuation and left a quaking, shivering mess of creeps. I looked down and found the source of it to be a leaf, but the feeling of Trooper's ears once again on the bottom of my chin and throat was the one that truly pulled me in. I could tell what he was feeling, considering how cold it was. "Sorry, I got swept up at the sight of him. We should go before I do something stupid," I sheepishly spoke, then turned and walked back to where the gathering was. That was until I heard the slow and haunting squeak of metal once again behind me. I turned back around in shock and unease, and found the gate had pushed open slightly into a gap. I, once again, froze in shock before I decided to investigate once again. When I tried pulling it, I was only able to pull it open so much before it was halted, but I estimated that I was small enough to squeeze through the gate. "Well, you think I should do it?" I got no reply, but took a deep breath and shimmied my way through the gap with little to no hesitation.